All right, guys, it is day 11 of TDOC. We are there. We're almost there. So I just want to give a big thank you to all of you that have been with us live every night, which is a good majority of you, which I think is absolutely amazing. On the other hand, those of you that have been catching up on the recordings, I can't thank you enough for continuing to be a part of us in that way. We've got a great program tonight for our last program. And again, as I always say, if you think that I have carefully orchestrated all of this, I'll be the first to tell you absolutely not. But it's going to be a great way to end this. So I'm super excited to delve in. I do want to, on recording, even though maybe I said I wasn't, I'm going to give a big shout out to my friend Stephanie, who has jumped in to help us moderating. Now, that only applies, of course, to the people that are with us live in the chat. At the same time, we're sending well wishes to my usual moderator, Erin, and we love her, and hopefully she will be back with us again tomorrow night. Now, without further ado, we've got a lot of things that we need to kick off before we actually roll into our program, because this is the last night, guys. So bear with me for some of our introductions, because we want to go down our usual routine before we kick into that. So first of all, right off the bat, I'm going to say today was a super busy day because Jill's first day back in the office was today, and she was completely overloaded by everything that has been coming in over the past 10 days, if you will. I said to one of my customers earlier, one of my fiber friends, when we were chatting on the phone, that I feel like we need to start like a GoFundMe for Jill just to like save her from all of it. So with that being said, we're going to start off first with our recipe share. And I'm going to send my apologies that I'm sorry, get to make a recipe for tonight, given everything that's happened and all of the changes. So please allow me that. However, as I was kind of digging through something like fun and quick to do, while I found things that were fun and quick to do, I also found a family recipe. And I know some of you have talked about this throughout the TDOC. And honestly, getting to the 11 days, I'm super proud that we've been able to share recipes. Some of you have dropped recipes into the chat, or you've messaged me afterwards, because family is all about the holidays, whatever holiday you celebrate, or however you see family, because that's the other part of it too. So I literally found I guess she would be my great aunt. It was literally like my dad's aunt. Aunt Grace was basically, everybody has that one person, I think, that like holds the family together. Like she knew everybody's birthdays. Like she knew everybody in the family on both sides of the family. She was just that person. And actually the favorite, now that I'm thinking about the favorite photo I have of my mom in the piece that was very similar. It was the inspiration for A Mother's Hug, which was the third knit along that I did with Kimberly. That picture was actually taken with my Aunt Grace. And I think that's the last picture I have of her. So this is, remember the typewriter, folks? Like, who knows the typewriter? So this is my Aunt Grace's, I see the hands up. This is my Aunt Grace's recipe. Every holiday, she would make bread pudding. And then she had this absolutely delicious, but very light and delicate lemon sauce that would go over it. And she was so proud of it. She would come with the bread pudding. The lemon sauce was not on top of it. We had to like heat it up, and then we had to drizzle it over it when we were ready to eat the bread pudding. So I found this in my recipe folder. And so Stephanie I sent it to her, so I think she is sharing it. And she was so sweet to say she would share the picture, but I'm like, no, I have the actual. So it was like this side was the bread pudding, and then this side is the lemon sauce. And I thought it was so cool because it's like literally in like typewriter font. So that's my recipe share for tonight. While I did not make it, I do hope to, and it's actually really easy. It's absolutely decadent, but in a light way, although it's complete carbs and it's bread, but it's not like overly sweet. It's not overly heavy. And it was just a staple at our family holidays back when she was alive and back when we were all getting together. So I just thought that was super cool to be able to share that tonight. Please forgive me for not having made it. And who knows? I don't think I'm going to have time to make it before tomorrow night, but I wanted to at least share that. Now, I know some of you have been asking about the various recipes, and some people have messaged me. You're always welcome to do that. I didn't dare say anything to Jill today on her first day back after pretty much 2 weeks about putting together some sort of compilation for the recipes, but I will work on that. We just have to give her time to be able to get through all of the amazing support that you guys have given us over these past 10 days thus far. So that's our recipe share for tonight. Now, I want to quick, of course, just kind of share some of the patterns that you guys see, which is what we do every night. And also because last night, I heard at the end that somebody was asking about the pattern that I was wearing. So first and foremost, on here, this dress form, that's what I was wearing last night. That's the Fair Wind shawl. That's done by Kate Atherley. It's a brioche pattern. That's actually the intermediate pattern. And then there's also a beginner pattern. So if you should happen to pick up 2 skeins of our sport weight, contrasting colors, whatever you consider contrasting. The pattern we're always more than happy to gift, and then I compensate her. And then you actually get 2 patterns basically for the price of 1. And this was something that she did for a conference retreat. I guess it was more of a retreat that was part of Patty Lyons. And Patty Lyons had matched up yarn makers with designers. So it was really fun. And that's actually been a pretty good workhorse for us. It's a really cool, like asymmetrical shawl, which I will say, in the beginning, I was sort of like, how do we wear this without it falling off? And then once I started carrying jewel designs, that's a really great answer to it. So we've talked about that over the past couple of nights, so I'm not going to repeat that. But that is the Fairwind shawl. So I wanted to make sure I got that up there since people were asking about it. And then the other 2 patterns, 3 of what I'm wearing, are going to kind of lead into some of our reviews. So this one here, this is our Mitchell Park cowl, which, Rosemary, you better perk up because you did this. It's super simple, but you did this cowl along with my bulky sweater. And I remember I had like this oversized, I don't know if it was like sweater, sweatshirt. So the Mitchell Park sweater was done in our bulky yarn, compliments of Rosemary Drysdale there. And then also this Mitchell Park cowl. And then the option, of course, was to pick up stitches and then join the cowl to the sweater if that's the look you were going for. Now, I do not have bulky yarn in stock right now, guys, but this was more about just inspiration. So many of you love our art yarns, but you're like, I don't know what to do with it. So this is just to show you that you can take a super simple cowl and then you could just cast on, do a couple rows, and then you can do a couple rows of art yarn, finish your cowl, and then repeat the same at the bottom. So this one was actually done with the Angora art yarn that we have, which we only have 1 skein left. So regardless, insert any other art yarn we carry and you can create that same look. On this one here, like literally so my favorite. That's the Lovely Locks Popover. We've talked a lot about curls. We've talked a lot about Gotland, the particular breed of sheep that I shear. Also, we had Aaron Liu on the other night, who also is a professional shearer and also has Gotlands in his flock. So lots of Gotland conversation. So that is 2 skeins of a Gotland yarn that we have in stock, and then 3 ounces of curls around the bottom. And then we've had a lot of curl talk and throughout TDOC as well. So I just had to get that back up there again because, of course, I had to kind of have like a similar colorway. That's just the way my brain works. Now, I'm wearing, actually for the first time, this is the Josie shawl. I'm going to stand up in a second so you can see it because it's always been hard on the dress forms. It's kind of a triangular shawl. Very, very simple. It's 1 skein of our fingering weight. It's done on a large needle though, so the stitch gauge is very open, very easy. And then on each of the 3 points, it calls for tassels. And so Kimberly and I, a couple years ago, were like, instead of using the yarn as tassels, let's do art yarn just to kind of change it up a little bit. So I made sure that the way I wear it, I wore it today. I always love mine as like a handkerchief, kind of like bandana style. And then I made sure all 3 points were kind of pulled in front and obviously just kind of like a different geometric shape. So the three tassels at the end, this was done with a really cool, fun, funky art yarn. So you can see all 3 points and then the tassels that we did as a result of it. And you can also kind of intertwine the yarn that you use for the pattern into the tassels as well. It's a little hard to see because sometimes if you have a really cool, fun, funky art yarn, it does kind of swallow that up, but that's in there as well. So because we've had a lot of fingering weight yarn dropped this week, I thought that was a really fun pattern to share. And I will say, I've had a lot of fun kind of like dressing up my knits this week because I don't get out much. And on the farm, especially in the winter, it's pretty much turtleneck, long johns, overalls, sweater, and then headband and mitts. And that's pretty much it. So I thank you all for the opportunity to feel like I'm getting dressed up with nowhere to go except to be with all of you. So that's our pattern share. Bear with me. Let's do our keepsake basket because like I am so stoked to add to the last part of this keepsake basket, which if you thought that I was hiding this from you, I was not, because literally at like 5:30, 5:45 is what I found out like some of our things were going to be for tonight. So between the keepsake basket and then between our announcement for the end of the evening. So we've had 11 guests, but the one night there was 4 guests. So that means this time, for the first time, there's even more than just 11 things in our keepsake basket. So as quickly as I can, our first, of course, was Kimberly and myself. And so we donated a crafting with Cotswold class. So that means you're going to get 1 ounce of locks, you're going to get the 6-inch frame, you're going to get the pattern, and then hopefully you're going to be available to join us on January 16th for our crafting with Cotswold class. And then next up, we had Alpacalets. So that was the mother-daughter team that makes these beautiful alpaca yarn bracelets. Now, this is one of the double versions that is not available wholesale as of yet. So you can certainly go on and purchase it retail. At the same time, so many of you have snagged up the actual single strands, which I will show in a little bit. Then from there, we jump to Frankie from Liberty Farms. Now, while it's going to be impossible for me to pick up all of the things, we've got 3 skeins of yarn from the flock, their fiber flock, sort of fiber flock, if you will, that they used to have. There was a beautiful canvas tote bag. We also have a jar of marinara sauce, and we also have a jar of salsa because they are a very large CSA farm in upstate New York. Then we moved on to Melinda McCall, who was a large animal veterinarian down south, and so comically, her Driving Home Naked book, along with her like gift set, which I did not even expect. So not only did you get her signed book, but very creatively on her part, if you're driving home naked, you are going to get soap, you're going to get a lip balm, you're going to get a coaster and a tea bag, because when you finally get home, you're just going to be like, shit, I got to relax. And that's what she put this together. And then also her children's book, of course, that was the $1 Million Goat. So that is all in there as well from her. So much more than I would have expected, of course. John was next up. We talked all about spinning. So we've got 4 1-ounce bumps of his handcrafted roving. So we've got that in our keepsake basket. Then Linda Courtwright from Wild Fibers. I literally just got them in our mailbox today. You're going to get not only the Twisted Tales coffee book, basically, and then you're also going to get Eye of the Fiber, which I did not have these in stock. Whatever I had left in stock of these is already sold out. So congrats to those of you that grabbed that up at a slight discount. Then moving on, we had our Fiber Friends chat. So we had Shanna, we had Crystal, we had Heidi, we had Amy. So there's a variety of things. We had a skein of yarn. We had a collection of patterns that's going to be available from Crystal. We had a collection of sort of a wool wash, yarn scour, like all those kinds of things from Amy. But then also, I'm going to say most importantly, dare I say, but then also as a product ad. And this bottle is half empty because I've already used it. So you know that this was one of our product drops this week. Our friend Heidi at Dirty Girl Yarns created this organic wool wash that is not so dirty wool shampoo. So remember, you can use it to scour wool. You can use it to just wash your yarns. You can use it to wash your knits. You can use it to wash your hair. I think she even said she uses it to wash her countertops. So 100% organic. We now have this on site. So $25 bottle. So definitely check out that product drop that we added this week. I still need to talk to Mimi, so we are going to donate something on behalf of us here at Life. So stay tuned for that. Then we had Aaron the other night who graciously donated 2 shirts that are part of his merch. The one which is particularly fun because, of course, I'm in New York. He took the play on I Love New York, and he said, I shear New York. And then, of course, it has his information in the back. So there's 2 T-shirts that are in the gift basket, compliments of him. Marley Bird last night. This is the one I want to make sure we recap because it kind of came in last minute. So she said that you can have any product pattern that is on her website at marleybirdhouse.com. So whoever wins the basket, we will make sure that we connect you with her so that that way you can be able to get your prize from her. And then lastly, our guest tonight, Trisha, while it's not the big prize, for the basket. Trisha, are you going to be throwing in just some yarn for the basket? I know we have our bigger prize, which I'll talk about.
I'm going to throw in the latest Rowan magazine
Okay.
and some yarn. Yeah,
Trust
just
me, she's got
a
plenty of
source of
yarn.
yarns.
I was gonna say she's got plenty of yarn hanging
Yeah,
around
I do.
as a sales director for Rowan, so you can be rest assured. And then, of course, I have a good excuse to be able to go out and see her and be able to grab that for our gift basket. So that's going to be the culmination of that keepsake basket. Now, the one thing I'm going to say before I start to run off the variety of things that we have for you guys as well. You know that every night we go to the end of the program and then our guest will pick a number based on the participants, and then we will offer, actually not offer, we will award that participant a $25 store credit to Shop with Life. So that's going to be a little different this evening. And so if you're with us now, which we are at I'm like, of course, this is me because I can't see. So we are at 36 participants. You are going to want to stay to the end because I'm going to say if you've won before, it doesn't matter. This is like winner takes all, whatever name we call. So at the end, when Trisha and I pick, or when she picks a number based on who is still with us, Trisha, why don't you say what you're going to be awarding this evening because it way trumps a $25 life store credit.
Okay. So we have a new yarn, which I'm going to show you a little bit more of later, and it's called Alpaca Sparkle. And it's a really lovely yarn. It's very tasteful. So it's alpaca, but see, it has a little sparkle in there.
Yep, you could
You
say
see
so.
that?
Yep.
So it's got these very tiny paillettes in there. And so the winner can choose the color that they like. So when I show you my presentation, there's a page with the colors in that yarn. So you have to choose the one that you like. And if you win, you get a bag of yarn and a copy of the book, the pattern book.
That's $155 value, guys. So I kind of feel like a heel, but it's okay. I've given away $25 every night. So whoever's with us at the end of the night, that is what you are going to win. And that's why I said if you've won before, kudos to you. If you win again. So I don't know, pack some coffee, hang out with us. Those of you that are watching the recording, I'm so sorry, but this will be your reminder to make sure that you join us live whenever you can because I never know what's going to happen. And I did not know this was coming down the pike until 5:30 tonight. So that's what I love about this as well. So I'm super excited about that. And just a big thank you to Trisha, of course, and Rowan Yarns. So stay tuned for that, everybody, at the end of the program. But I do want to quickly remind everybody also last night, not only with regards to what Marley was donating for the basket, but if you remember, it was kind of the end of the program. So I do also want to remind you that as attendees, many of our guests also have something to offer you. And so last night at the end, Marley offered 50% all of her patterns on Ravelry. And the code, if you're with us, you understand the code is shit. So I didn't make it up. That's hers. And if you were with us, you get it. So, and that expires. Actually, I think she said it expires Friday. So that's going to expire. I don't feel like I don't even know. Is that like next Friday? I don't even know what the day is anymore. My days are all blended up. So that's what you've got. Please take advantage of that as a way to thank her for being a guest and being with us. So I wanted to make sure we repeated that. Trisha's bearing with me. She knows that. I'm going to go through this as fast as I can and pretty super fast because if you've been with us, you know. But this is your last night to shop, guys. This is your last chance to get in for our keepsake basket. Remember, for every $10 that you spend, you get one ticket. And I would say our basket at this point at a loose evaluation is well over $500, if not more. We've had a couple of lucky winners. Eileen, only because you're on my screen, I see your face there. I know Gina's been a winner. And then actually there was a discussion between Jill and I if Ruth Ann was our very, very first winner. So I'll have to go back and look at that. So we hope to add somebody else to that list. So reminding you guys, we already talked about, of course, the wool shampoo, which was our drop this week. Remember, we also chatted with Judy and Morgan, the mother-daughter team, who makes these beautiful alpaca yarn bracelets. So this is the alpaca-lets. They are on our site, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, a lot of different color varieties. Some are sold out, but at the same time, still plenty to grab up. Trisha, you'll love this. It's super fun and super stupid. But remember our Llama Dew candy dispenser? This is what the actual packaging looks like, which I don't think I showed you guys. I just showed you the one that I took out of the packaging with a really cool like hairdo there. So stupid, but for $3.75, who doesn't want to laugh? And actually a bunch of you have put this in your cart, which I think is absolutely great. We do have it in 3 different colors. And I literally made a list of everyone that ordered it, and I will be reaching out to you, and I'll be more than happy to accommodate you on the color you might like, because we have them in orange, gray, and pink. And that's just kind of what we do around here. Then I want to remind you guys of our last code. We have 2 codes. TDOC2550. That is for our skincare. Do me a favor, make it a little interactive. Drop in the chat for me, what is your favorite skincare product that you get from me? Is it the salve? Is it the soap? Is it the body butter? Is it the lip balm? Do you use our bath bombs? So just kind of get the conversation going in the chat so that way I'm just curious to see what people use. I obviously use all of them, although I don't use the bath bomb as much because I don't take a tub as much. But when I do, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I have to kind of like remind myself. But I would say pretty much for me, the soap is always in my shower. The lip balm is in every pocketbook or car or drawer that I have. And then my salve is definitely my go-to for my lovely cracked hands. And then my body butter is my go-to for kind of out of the shower, more or less, I would say. So remember, you guys get 50% off. That all expires midnight tonight. And then I saw Stephanie dropped in the chat, but remember you have 20% off our Gotland gloves and our Gotland socks. So that is also until midnight tonight. And some of you have taken advantage of all of this, which is great. But I also just want to remind you guys that you still have a little bit of time to get some more tickets in for the basket and to take advantage of our coupon code. And conceivably, maybe somebody might have missed it before. With that, I just want to quickly, because I know some of you have texted me and asked today. So I want to remind you of some of our yarns that dropped this week and are still available. So bear with me, and this will be the last of it, and then we're going to jump in with Trish. So starting with our really fun art yarn, especially out of my favorite sheep, Violet, we still have just one skein of violet on violet. So remember, there was a little bit of sparkle in there. So there's violet on violet. And then we've got one skein of violet and gold. So you can see just a little more subtle, the gold sparkle that's in there. And then we've got still just one skein left of violet and raspberry. So those are the three art yarns that our friend Heidi from Dirty Girl Yarns did. Remember, I do all the shearing. I send her my fleeces. She spins them up into some beautiful stuff. I have to tell you guys, like, I'm a pink girl. I never was a pink girl. Now I am a pink girl. And then sometimes I'm not a pink girl. I'm really surprised. We only had two skeins of this natural Gotland done in the pink, and neither of them got scooped up, which I was surprised about. So there's still two of these beautiful pink skeins. Remember the inspiration of a cowl like this. Remember the Connecticut River scarf I showed you guys earlier. And then there's one skein left of In Dreams. Definitely a little bit more of like a fall type colorway. So there's one skein left of that. There are some other fun art yarns, which some of you guys have grabbed up. I'm not going to take the time to show them, but you can just go to our website when you go to shop. And then if you choose yarn, and then if you choose artisanal yarns, that's where you'll see all of those selections. Then our farm to yarn drop, our shear to share drop, if you will. There is one skein left of this Gotland collaboration that Amy Kidd allowed me to scoop up. So there's just one skein left of that. And then there are 5 skeins left of each of this beautiful Gotland yarn. The one on top is 100% lamb's wool, Gotland, of course. And then the one on the bottom, you can see a little bit more of a sheen. That's blended with merino and nylon. These are both fingering weights. So for instance, these would both be beautifully done up for this Josie shawl. Now this Josie shawl was done in our yarn, so it's 400 yards. These are each 200 yards. So you would need 2 skeins, but they're appropriately priced. So if you're looking for more of a like natural color, natural fibers, just giving you some suggestions of things that you could scoop up. And again, you could just see right there the difference. The top one, the 100% lamb's wool, and then the bottom one, you can see a little bit of a deeper color. You can see a little bit more of that luster, and that's from the nylon more than anything else. Great sock yarn if you're looking for that. And then last but not least, we have 4 colorways that are left from our drop. Petroleum was totally sold out. On the other hand, we've got olive leaf. That is still left, believe it or not, only in 2 of the alpaca blend skeins. So this was alpaca, merino, and silk. All of the Falkland is sold out. So there's just 2 left in this. Then we've got the Kiss of Death. The alpaca merino, I'm going to hold it back because it's not that bright. It's a really deep color. So if I hold it back, you can see it true to color. So there's 4 left of this on the Falkland base. Then the Afterglow, which I knew maybe wasn't going to be as popular, but is so my fall jam. So the Afterglow, there is 4 left on the Falkland base, which I'm holding. And then there's just 1 left on the alpaca merino silk base. And then last but not least, we've got the Moonlight. And then this one, there is just 3 left on the Falkland base, which is what I'm holding. If I put it up too close, I just feel like it looks a little brighter than it is. It's just a really nice, there you go. That's exactly what it is. Just a really nice, deep, almost, I don't even know if I want to call it purple. Really think about what the Moonlight looks like. So there's 3 of those left. So that's all my yarn share. I'm exhausted. I'm done. That's everything we've got to share with you guys. That is the last of my inspiration for you. The support that you guys have given us over these 9 days, 10 days, 10 days thus far. I so appreciate not only to me, but to all of the makers, to everybody that's been involved, all of the guests that have been involved. And I want to be able to fully, of course, give the time that we've got left for our last guest, Trisha Malcolm. Now, I'm going to do my brief introduction, but then as we start, I always give the guests their opportunity to introduce themselves. Now, I know she's not going to love my introduction, but this is like, I don't know. Like, I almost want to say this is like my mama bear, although we're really not that much different in age. But do you ever like just be new to something and you're so gobsmacked by everybody around you that has done so much more, despite whatever little age difference there is? And when I came on the scene, back in, I don't know, you figure I figured 1996. This was probably 2001 because I know I missed the very first Vogue Knitting Live because I got married. Those things get in the way. And then I jumped right in on the second one. And that's my memories of Trisha and that whole crew. Obviously, she's moved on to other things, and we'll talk about that. But I asked her ahead of time, and I was like, "Listen, that's who you are to me." And when you're so new to something, and you're just so in awe of the presence that somebody has in an organization that you admire and a an event that you admire. I don't know. So I know the first like maybe couple of years we would get together, afterwards or, after hours. And, I was always just so like, oh my gosh, like still excited, to be there in that sense. And she would always just yell at me. Now I'm just like, hey, we need to get together. And, I'm not saying that that's diminished in any way, but obviously I feel like it's a little bit more of a level playing field, but I will forever be indebted to Trisha for the beginnings of my business, my brand in the industry. I always continue to look to her for advice, just, love the opportunities and the times we have together. And I've also been trying to get her on for, I would say maybe, now my fault because I always do everything last minute, as everybody knows. So this is a hard woman to nail down. And I literally got lucky because I don't know, somehow or other, I caught you one night. I just texted randomly and you answered almost right away, which was absolutely incredible. So I just reeled her in like a fish on a hook. And here we are. So I'm going to let Trish introduce herself in the way that she would like. And then we're just going to kind of roll from there.
I was just thinking, I think I may have met you through Rosemary first up, because did she meet you doing the East Hampton Farmers Market or something like that?
Probably. I mean, yeah, because Rosemary lives in East Hampton, and you're right. I mean, I started doing the farmers markets before I started doing anything else. And I think I don't even know if she still had the yarn store then, or maybe she had like just closed it and saw me there. But yeah, I mean, either way, and I think
Yeah.
Rosemary is still on, and she is. It's sort of like the trifecta. I feel
Yeah.
like between all of us,
Yeah.
and of course, Rosemary living out east, and when you used to live in the city, that was where we would all get together. And now, you live out east as well. But I can't think of you without thinking of Rosemary and vice versa.
Nice. Nice. Well, it's great. We're all still friends after all these years. And it's lovely to be invited to be here. So thank you. And it's lovely to see everybody. I'm especially happy to see Stephanie Scott.
I was going to say which one because I've
I
got a
know,
bunch
right?
of Stephanies.
So hi, Stephanie. Um, Stephanie and I are in a knitting group together, which I'll tell you about later in case anyone wants to join.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. I was born in Australia and grew up there, and then I became a high school teacher, and then I sort of, I got married, and we had decided we wanted to go traveling because when you grow up in Australia, the rest of the world is a long way away, and people tend to leave and not come back for a couple of years. So I was doing that, and everyone moved to London back then, and we all got jobs in pubs, traveled around Europe and then, went back home. So I did something completely different, and kind of I flew to Tahiti, then Easter Island, and then to Chile, and then backpacked all through South America and came to the States. And then I took a trip up the California coast, and we bought a $200 Chevy Vega in San Francisco and drove it across country.
All right,
And
so wait a minute. I have to tell you, first of all, because already there's a question. I don't think I've ever heard this part of you. So I'm sitting
well,
here with my mouth open. And then at the same time, I never knew you were. So Laura's asking, and I'm asking, I don't even, what did you teach?
I was a high school teacher.
What?
I taught geography and art and home ec.
I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, so then drove across country. We broke down once in Utah, and but I did cool things like hiked the Grand Canyon, and we went back camping, and then we came to stay with some friends in Philadelphia, and that's where I got to learn about baseball because I would go to Phillies games all the time. And then the family we stayed with, the brother had an apartment in New York, and his roommate was away, so he said, "Would you like to come to New York?" So we did. We came for a week.
Now, who is we that you were
I
married?
was married, yeah.
Okay.
And then the we got to New York. Oh, and then the roommate called up and said, "I'm not coming back." So we were like, "Oh, well, we're here." So we sort of stayed. So I never got to live in London. My husband got a job working for the British government in New York, the Consul General, and then he worked at the Australian mission to the UN. And so that's where I,
But both of
you know,
you were Australian?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um, so then I was able to work. So I got a job then working at McCall's Needlework and Craft magazine. Some of you might remember that magazine from
Yeah.
back in the day. And then what happened? Oh, then the magazine was sold and they moved it to Peoria, Illinois. And I didn't really think I was an Illinois kind of girl. So I didn't go. And then I got a job in a publishing magazine company. I worked on a whole lot of, I think I was managing editor of 30 different titles in a year. So that was kind of fun. And then I ended up at Vogue Knitting not long after that. And Matthew, is that you?
I was just, that's why I see Matthew commenting too. I'm like, and I just was scrolling through because I'm like, is that Matthew? The Matthew I think so. And the last name's not there, but I'm sure it
It is him.
was.
Hey, Matthew.
I love it.
So Matthew used to work at Vogue Knitting as well.
Now, when did you start? Well, wait, when you started, was it Vogue Knitting? It wasn't, what is it? Butter, what it was the publishing company? Butterick?
Butterick. The
Yeah.
Butterick was the sewing pattern company. That was our parent company.
Okay. But when you started, was that still a part
Yeah,
of it? Okay.
yeah, yeah. Um, what happened was Butterick's pattern company bought Vogue Patterns. And because Vogue Patterns used to publish Vogue Knitting back in, I think it was from the 1930s through the end of the 60s. Um, so then my boss at the time, who you also knew, um, went to Condé Nast and said, "Oh, I'd like to, knitting's a thing again, and I'd like to start, publishing Vogue Knitting." And so I always think of it, it's a bit like Mad Men. There's like cigars and suits and no women involved. And then that's what happened. And so Vogue Knitting was relaunched then in 1982. And so
Amazing.
it's been, was going ever since then. And so that was what, yeah. So eventually I ended up at Vogue Knitting. Then I left for a couple of years and then I came back again. And yeah,
So you started, you left, and then you came back again?
yeah, I moved
Oh,
home
I
for two
didn't think I
years.
knew that either.
Yeah, I went back to Australia for 2 years because I was getting divorced and I was burnt out.
Gotcha.
So I
Wow.
went home and hung out with my friends and got myself back together and came back for more.
Amazing. And then,
Yeah.
so what was the year that you came back? Do you remember?
Yes. It's actually next week.
Okay.
I think we'll be 30 years.
Because so then essentially, and how long has it been since you left Vogue Knitting? Was it I was trying to remember. It was pre-COVID, was it not?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
left at the beginning of 2019.
Okay, but that's still like a long run.
Yeah, it was a long run. Some days it felt too long, which Matthew can probably agree with me on. And Rosemary worked with me for most of
Yeah.
those years as well that I was there,
Yep.
working as a consultant. And then Matthew was our yarn editor. So when we would choose, what we were going to do, we'd have to select yarns, when we would choose designs. Yeah, good. Uh, and so we would work with Matthew then to select the yarns and the colors. And then it was Matthew's job to then contact the yarn companies and get the yarn samples and then work with the designers, give them contracts, deadlines, all of the sort of information they needed in order to get, everything back to us. So Matthew's job was basically anything pre-photography. That was him.
Yeah. And meanwhile, your job, how would you describe that?
It was a little bit of different things.
And the only
Anyway,
thing I will say for those of you that are with us live, and of course we'll get to Rowan, and we'll probably get to Rowan and come back to Vogue because again, I'm always going to think of Trish with regards to that. But drop in the chat if you've been part of Vogue Knitting Live. I mean, I think one of the most important things, and personally still being involved now, one of the most important changes is that much like whoever is the face of a brand, whether it's your own company like myself, whether it's Trisha, who it wasn't her company, but the position that she held, it makes a difference, right? Like branding is everything. And it's not even just about the content, but I do feel so much in our community, it's about the people. And
yeah, it's true.
sorry for what I'm going to say, but I will forever feel like, once Trish left, I mean, it really has drastically changed, the feel of Vogue Knitting Live. I still love it. I'm still there, guys. I'm still there. I'll be there end of January into February this year. But I feel like I have to give that credit to you. It's definitely not been the same since you've left.
Well, thank you. I'm not sure what
Absolutely.
to say.
No,
Um,
I mean, but it's because it's a credit to you. Because think about it, it's not even your company, but when you put so much time and energy and effort and love into something that's like literally not even yours versus my own company, I think that that's just so important. And I also don't think people realize the behind the scenes because I feel like you were, Vogue Knitting and Vogue Knitting Live to so many people, which again is to your credit. You should be happy about that, proud of that.
Thank you. Yeah, this year's 15 years since the show started.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's amazing.
It is amazing and it is
Yeah.
still going. And right, we've all had our like bumpy rocks through COVID as everybody has. And you'll be back again. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. Even though you left Vogue Knitting Live, you've still been involved and you've still maintained being a part of the panel. So we'll talk about that too, of course, about how we'll, still see you. And it always depends on your schedule. But I feel like these days it's like everybody is just like in, out, there's so many things going on, who's sick, who's not sick, as to whether or not we get to visit. But the beauty is like we're all still there regardless of different directions that we all go in, which is great. So
Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's the nice thing. And it's just great to bump into people
yeah.
because you
Oh,
always see
and that's
people you won't
always
see.
been. I mean, that's always. I mean, we can go back to that, but that's always been what that event was. But it's still different. It's still not the same as, when we would all catch up afterwards.
Yeah, we did have some fun times. Yes.
So let's jump forward. You leave Vogue, we can go back. So
Mhm.
you leave Vogue and then what?
I went to Rowan and I started out as they weren't sure what to do with me. So they gave me some wacky title. I can't even think what it is now.
Well, wait,
Oh,
did they headhunt you? Like they didn't know what to do with you, but did they headhunt you?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then my job was executive brand director or something like, no, not, I don't know, something like that, which meant nothing. And because it wasn't really a specific job. And they would give me little tasks, whatever needed doing. So when they had to get a new website, once we were sold, my job became making the website, you know, um, like planning the back end and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're just different sort of projects. And that was great. And then we have distribution here in North America. And now we're part of the DMC group of companies. So we have DMC, like embroidery floss.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, most of it that you see in the world is DMC.
Okay. I feel
Mm.
like that goes back to like Rosemary's days.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
And for those of you who didn't know, Rosemary was a very, very well-known cross-stitch designer back in the day. She started out in knitting and then went to cross-stitch and then came back to knitting.
And
But
then for anybody who's been with me, Rosemary Drysdale was a big entrelock. I mean, that was, in terms of,
yeah.
I feel like in the early days, entrelock was her thing. So we have a entrelock lace scarf pattern
Mhm.
that was in our fingering weight yarn. That was probably one of the first patterns anybody ever did for me. That was Rosemary's. And then I think last night, was I wearing the Springs cowl? That was actually done by Annabelle, which is her daughter. The Little Rivers poncho, which is like a workhorse of ours, was done by Annabelle, which is her daughter. And I know I have some other patterns done by Rosemary, but also Rosemary did a book on seed stitch, and my yarns were featured on the cover of that. So, I mean, these were not planned. So, Stephanie, don't worry about dropping links in the chat. But these are just, these are just the ways in which these people have blessed me, just by, me falling into their lives and falling into their laps, pretty much.
Yeah, it all worked out really well.
And it
Yeah,
did.
yeah. So anyway, this job came up. We had a sales director for North America and she left. And they really wanted someone in that role who knew the yarns and knew the industry. So then I got moved into that. And that's what I do now. So it means I have 14 sales directors around the US and Canada, and I manage all of them, make sure that they have yarn samples and presentations and answer questions and people leave. I've got just hired two new sales reps. So the rest of this week is going to be training. So I do it's kind of a weird, funny job, but it's kind of fun. I work with some great people, which is really
You
nice.
still, so I remember in the beginning where I feel like Rosemary would also say, like, do you travel as much as you used to, or now that the job has been honed in a bit, are you more local, or is it a mix of both?
It's a mix. I went through about a year where I traveled almost every week,
Mhm.
and that's sort of calmed down now, but I travel pretty much every month.
Now,
You
do
know.
you, because you're more stateside in terms of your position, so is your traveling stateside, or do you still also go over to Europe?
Not as much to Europe. The first year I was here before the pandemic, we were owned by a group called Metz Crafts out of Germany. So I would fly, basically, I'd go to England for 2 weeks, I'd go to Germany for a week or two, then go back to England and then come home for 2 weeks. And that was kind of like my cycle. So I was
Mhm.
paying a lot of rent for no sleeping in my apartment. Uh, but anyway, so now after the pandemic, it's more sort of local, but I go to Europe maybe once or twice a year for work, which is great.
Yeah, well, I mean, but here's the thing. Whenever you travel for work, it's work. Or at the
Yeah,
same time, do you get to build in any fun time when you travel or not
yeah.
really?
Oh yeah, I'm very good at adding the fun time. Yeah, I always add a few days of vacation to a trip. I've
Good.
got some friends from Australia who live in England, so I go and visit them, or other people I've become friends with over the years, in the knitting world. So you know, it's
And
great. It's really fun. Yeah,
so
so that's what I do. Yeah.
so earlier Trish was asking about doing a PowerPoint, and I'm like, that's so extra. And she's like, what? Nobody else has? I'm like, no, it's not that kind of thing. But I'm super excited. I mean, I feel like we're going to be like ending with a bang. So, I mean, do you feel like this is a good time for you to kind of like delve into your like professional presentation and then we can segue
Yeah,
back into our casual conversation?
sure. So what I thought I'd show you tonight is Rowan Magazine, and you're probably all familiar with the Rowan Magazine. It's this big sort of coffee table magazine that's been, oh my God, we're actually, I think in the fall it'll be issue number 80. So
Wow.
that's, it's been around for a long time. And Rowan in 2028 will be 50 years old.
What's the history of Rowan? Meaning in terms of like obviously, well, I don't want to say obviously, but I'm assuming it started in Europe. But like where was it born? I mean, I understand how like my farm to yarn is born, but when you look at like a commercial company, like how is a commercial company born? Can you talk about like the roots of
Yeah.
where it all started?
Yep. It started in Yorkshire, and Yorkshire is in the north of England. Um, and it's where during the Industrial Revolution, all the textile making happened. So there's a very rich history. And the reason the textile industry was there is because all the sheep were there,
Okay.
you know. So it's any time you sort of drive through it, you're never without sight of a sheep unless you're in a town. There's just sheep everywhere, and it's green and beautiful. Um, so yeah, so it was just yeah, that's where it sort of started. And it was started by two men, one of whom is Stephen Sheard, who some of you might have heard of, and another guy whose name Graham, somebody, I can't think of his last name. And what happened was they were young hippies and they were into weaving. So they bought yarn and kind of dyed some of it. And then they had like a weaving stand at all the local sort of festivals and things. So then they knew knitting was becoming like a really hot thing, but they weren't sure how to get from being a weaving company to being a knitting company. And then on a random day, they met Kay Fassett. And
Oh.
then Kay Fassett is the one who said, this yarn's beautiful. I've just learned to knit. And then, so, um, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm just going to go, bye, Stephanie. I'll
No,
see
I
you
know.
on
I was
Wednesday.
like, I was just gonna say that's the trouble with the chat. But of course, the minute you said like Kay Facet, I'm like, I think of like again, all of a sudden I'm just like, those are the people that I think of that you would connect me with behind the scenes when we were at Vogue Knitting Live. I mean, I know it's not what we're talking about, but that's where I went to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so yeah, I would have never had any idea that he had a part in the
Yeah.
early days of this.
Yeah, so he was an artist and he just moved to the UK. He grew up in Big Sur in California, and he'd moved over there and he bought some yarn somewhere, and a woman on a train taught him to knit. And so then he saw Stephen's yarns at this sort of event, and they were talking about knitting, and he said, I've just learned to knit. And he said, I'd love to be able to do knitting yarns, but he said, I don't know what colors to choose. And Cave's like, oh, I do, because I'm an artist. So then Cave was very, very involved in choosing all the colors for the original 4-ply yarn, and then whatever yarns came afterwards in those sort of early years. And he's still there now. I mean, I think he just turned 87 or 88 last December.
But was he like a consultant for Rowan or just operated independently? Or like I never knew the two of them were connected.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, the thing that Rowan has is like a stable of designers, and they've always had that right from the very beginning. So um, once Stephen had Cave, he went out and found other designers, like people that might have heard of Sasha Kagan. Um, oh, I can't even think right now. But they had a whole stable of designers, and that's when they started to publish the magazine to showcase the beautiful design that was in these beautiful new yarns that they were developing. And then Cave designed some jacket or something, and they ran it in a magazine in the UK, and it went absolutely crazy. And they made so much money that that's what sort of started the company going.
Mhm.
And so it's been going ever since. And then, Stephen sold the company at some point. It's been sold a few times, and now we're owned by, like I said, DMC, who have the embroidery floss. And we also own Sirdar. Some of you might remember Sirdar baby yarns. And then we also own Wool and the Gang.
Don't think I knew that.
Oh,
That's definitely a bit more, I would say, like trendy, like something that you see like more on
yeah,
Instagram and things like that, correct? But
yeah.
it's still Europe based.
Everything's UK based
Yeah,
except
yeah.
DMC. DMC itself started sometime I want to say in the early or mid 1700s.
Okay.
And it started in the south of France, down near the border with Switzerland and Germany.
Now, the only thing I see from Wool and the Gang, so I'm just curious, and maybe other people are, it's always like big chunky yarns.
Yeah,
Is
not
that?
always. Yeah, but
Oh,
you're
it's not always.
no, not always. Their
Okay.
first yarn and the one that's done the best is called Crazy Sexy Wool,
Okay.
and that's a big chunky one. But now they have a skinny. It's called Little Crazy Sexy Wool.
Interesting.
And then we have a great yarn that's more like I guess a chunky weight called Al Pacino Merino, and that's um that's one of our best sellers too.
So I'm curious. I mean, and you're not prepared for this, but so if you have like a major company like Rowan, and then you have like let's say like a subset like Wool and the Gang. So what is that satisfying that Rowan is not? Like, or is it
Right.
like how does that work? I guess
Yeah.
is what I'm curious.
Okay, so if you're a beginner, you might not be drawn like immediately to Rowan, but you
Okay.
might be drawn to Wool and the Gang.
Based on like the designs and the yarn and things like that.
Yeah. And if
Oh,
you're a really experienced knitter, and I mean, yes, when you're an experienced knitter, sometimes you just want to knit something mindless. But if you're an experienced knitter and you want to knit something that really shows off your skills, you're not finding that at Wool and the Gang. You'll find that at Rowan,
okay.
you know?
But at the same time, I'm sure like Will and the Gang, because again, I've seen that on social media versus Rowan. So obviously they've done a good job of like marketing it to that population of people that might just
Yeah.
be starting up and coming, younger, or whatever the case may be.
There's a lot of Rowan on Instagram too. That's just not coming up in your feed because they somehow pegged you as more of a Wool and the Gang kind of person, I guess.
Right. Well, and it's all like algorithm, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
that's the whole name of the game. But no, it's interesting, and I don't know that I knew that any of those were connected, and perhaps people in the chat as well. So cool. All right.
Yeah, so my sales reps, when they go out, they carry all of those yarns plus DMC threads. So they'll go into a knitting store and that's what they'll show,
Are
you
your
know?
sales reps specifically just doing your stuff
No,
versus? Oh, so that's what I was curious because I know that, and again, this is just me behind the scenes. I know that reps will come into yarn stores and they just have so much stuff, but I was curious if Rowan just has their own people.
no, we don't have enough. Um, we just don't have enough different yarns, you know? Like between the three brands, we still don't have enough to warrant the cost of that. The only brand that owns their own sales reps really in the US is Knitting Fever.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's interesting. I was just about to say, well, of course, but that's only because they're Long Island based. So, of course, I'm like, oh, of course. But so you're saying statewide, that's the only one.
Countrywide, yeah.
Countrywide. Wow, amazing.
Yep. Yeah, because they have, oh my God, they've probably got about 20 something brands, whereas we've got three real
Yeah.
yarn brands, you know? So that's a lot. When you've got 20 brands and you might have, say, even 20 different yarn types within each brand, that's a massive number of yarns, you know?
No, it again, and while I know you might not think it's important, what I know about the community that's here is like they love this stuff. Like they love the behind the scenes stuff, like understanding that kind of stuff, like as do I. So, I think about, I don't ever come in contact with these people as reps, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I'm not in
yeah.
that world. So it's interesting to me too. But at the same time, I always think of this one woman, and I know you'll know her as soon as I say it because I can never remember her name. And I know she's like a rep in our area. Oh, and she would be at Vogue Knitting Live, and I can't even think of like what she reps. I know you know her, and like her name will come up, and I run into her. But I mean, I know it's a tough job at the same time.
Is
When
it
you're
Antonia?
yes, yes, yeah.
Yes, she works with me. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just, it's you do get to know people even though I'm not in that world, nobody's repping my yarns. But I still think it's just great that it's such a close-knit community that way. For people that are out there doing their thing, but yet still interested in what other people have to
Yeah.
offer. So
Yeah.
she's always graciously like stopped in my booth and said hello and all that kind of stuff when
Yeah.
she's at Vogue Day.
She's lovely. Just
Yeah,
lovely. Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so let me show you. That's what I started to say is the Rowan magazine. So what I thought I would show you tonight is this current issue of Rowan magazine and what's in it. And then I'm going to give Tabitha a copy for your giveaway basket. Yeah.
Now I have to ask, wait, so see, you thought you were going to get started. How many times a year is this magazine produced?
Twice.
Oh, it's just twice. Okay, I was going to say quarterly, I thought maybe. So is it seasonally based or that has nothing to
Yeah.
do with it?
Yeah, very, very much. Yeah.
Okay. But there's four seasons, so it's just covering two at a time.
Spring, summer, and then autumn, winter.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I said, well, this is, I believe it's number 79. And then after this, we get number 80, which is really exciting. Okay, so this issue, we have a new look for the magazine. Um, so this one is the one that's out now for autumn winter. Is 78, and then coming for spring summer will be 79, and then in the fall next year we get number 80. But they designed it like they redesigned the magazine. So we used to have full bleed covers. Um, it just has a sort of a more of a different look, a more sort of editorial, sort of more articles than they've had before. So that's kind of the refresh of the magazine. And usually the magazine has two or three stories. And the first story is called Emerge. So we have stories because we have themes, and what happens is the head designer comes up with an idea for themes and gets that approved, and then she sends the theme ideas out to designers. So here, the concept in this story was head to toe layering of nets. Um, and it was all sort of kind of put together in a way that if you were to put this on a runway, you'd have many, many pieces all sort of on top of each other. And it's a fashion trend to layer lots of knits. You've probably seen people wearing knit pants, knit shorts with a matching sweater, which I believe is pajama dressing that came from the pandemic. So there's lots and lots of different forms that a whole outfit can take. So here we've got this really cute little dress, and then there's like a really nice big vest, long vest, and then this beautiful scarf. Now, the Fair Isle scarves that we have are all, um, what are they? They're knit in the round so that you just keep going, which doubles the thickness, which makes them incredibly warm, but it also um, makes you can't see the wrong side, which is nice. So you don't have to make your knitting perfect on the wrong side, which is lovely. Here we have this very cute little skirt. I'm seeing a lot of people knitting this. And then, a little sort of sweater, little crop sweater to go with it. And you'll notice that we put down the name of the designers down. It's a big thing at Rowan to credit the designers. Chloe actually works on staff, and she's sort of an up and coming designer. And she used to intern with Debbie Bliss at some point. So she's done some really cool things for someone who's really young. So she designed this adorable little cardigan. You can see the little patch pockets have Fair Isle on them. And then the back of the cardie is Fair Isle as well. And it looks fantastic, I think, with that little the cute skirt. And then we've got the another scarf over here, which is a totally sort of a bright colorway, which is really lovely. This group are all done in felted tweed, which is globally Rowan's best-selling yarn, and I'm sure most of you have probably knit with felted tweed. If it's our best-selling yarn globally, it's got to be one of the best-selling yarns on the planet. And it's a beautiful, beautiful yarn that very much speaks to the heritage of Rowan, that sort of Yorkshire sort of feel. Okay, this group is designed by Georgia Farrell. So she did a knit dress with a knit vest and then with a sort of like a cowl, like you were talking about before, the sort of triangle kind of cowl, and then a cute little knit bag. So it's a cute little set as well. That's just some other versions of. And then this is stunning. This knitted sweater and knitted skirt. And then with she's got a matching, well, she's got a knit kerchief around her neck. And then sort of striped scarf over here on the left, um, that sort of echoes the colors that are in the garment. I forgot to take this slide out. In a regular presentation, this would be a video. Anyway, we'll just move on. Um, so then Kid Classic is a yarn that's been around in our lives for 25 years now. And so they decided to do a collection here that sort of highlights the beauty of this yarn. And what makes it really lovely is it's mohair and wool. And the mohair gives it a really lovely sheen. And mohair takes dye so beautifully, as I'm sure you are very aware of. Um, it there's nothing like mohair that catches the dye. And so it just has this beautiful, beautiful look to it. And the story here is very much traditional looking rowan, lots of fair isles and lots of, elaborate sort of knitting. It's not the quick knitting I do. That's all I have time for. But this was one of the favorites from this season. Really beautiful yoke cardi. And this is my favorite from the issue. I think it's very traditional, but really simple and very pretty. And cardigans, like simple cardigans in this shape, are having a massive moment in fashion, even on guys. And Matthew might back me up there on that one. That's what he knows about. Cute little cropped cardi with lots and lots of cables on the side there. And then I'm really in love with this center sweater, which is this beautiful very simple oversized sweater. One of my store owners has just knit this and it looks absolutely stunning on her. Really, really gorgeous. Lovely texture there on the left, and that beautiful autumnal shade. That was like the orange that you pulled up before, Tabitha.
Yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous color. And then we've got a lovely little, traditional Farrow vest there on the right. Cute little cardigan here, again, with some, just enough color work. But again, you can see how important that shape is. Then this beautiful little jacket. Lisa has been trained in dressmaking details, so she's really great at pulling together sort of, dressmaking details into nets, which is really sweet. And then we have this beautiful scarf. And having done photography for years, I can't even imagine how they got that shot. It's really quite amazing. This one's really cute. Now, there's a lot of top-down knitting going on in the world, and particularly, influenced by Scandinavians, and Rowan tends to be very traditional, and the traditional way of knitting in the UK is you knit everything in pieces and sew it together. So it's taken a long time for us to get them to actually do top down and in the round sweaters. So they're so excited about it. They put a big badge on the page to tell you. They're so proud of themselves. Anyway, it's really really lovely. But that's a cute little sweater. This whole trend of what do you call it? Raglans sort of going very much into the center is a big thing too. And then we've got a long loose cardigan, also great in this yarn. This yarn's also a little bit heavier. It's more closer to a worsted weight, whereas most of Rowan yarns tend to be lighter. And this is the yarn I showed you a few minutes ago, which is our brand new yarn called Alpaca Sparkle with those tiny paillettes in it. And we sold this out twice before it even hit the country, before the season even began. So this has been a massive hit for us this year, which is really kind of cool. And there are 6 colors. So now what you need to do is choose your color, your favorite color, in case you win.
Don't ask me this later because this is.
Yeah. So it's either almond or camel, obviously pink, and then the pale gray or darker gray and black. So that's sort of makes it easy to remember. Oh, Stephanie, are you taking a screenshot?
Of course she is.
Smart girl. Yes. Okay, so that's the yarn. And then here's some of the designs. Like I'm totally in love with this sweater in the center. I could totally
And I
wear
was just
that.
gonna say in the middle, completely.
Yeah, yeah. And then very sweet little tie back there. They took this one lace pattern and tried different things with it. So here you see the cardigan and the sweater. And I think, you know, lace tends to be much smaller. And I think blowing it up in this heavier weight yarn just looks really lightweight and gorgeous. And the yarn has no weight to it. Cute little scarf that you can make, I think, from two skeins. You know, it's good to have little projects, and the hat there too is two skeins. But we love to have little projects so you can try the yarn. You might not be sure enough to invest in a whole sweater, but you can at least make a hat or scarf and then see if you like it, and then go back and get more. Now, this poncho with sleeves is our most popular pattern here.
Not like a swan show.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Gorgeous, gorgeous piece. Really, really beautiful. The photography, it's hard to pick up some of the sparkle here, but in real life to see this garment, it really is really quite stunning. In the center, I thought it was really lovely how they paired this velvet ribbon with the sweater just to give another level of luxe. Cute cardigan over there, little striped sweater. And then there's beautiful lace again. That it's not the same lace, but you can see how lace, even though it's a furry yarn, you know, it looks very lush. In the center, we've got more lace in that scarf. And on the darker shades in photography, you can see the paillettes more, you know. And then a simple tank top. And the idea of that is, you know, you need a very simple little luxurious tank top that you can wear under a blazer, and you can wear that to work, you know. It doesn't have to be just for evening. Cute little kerchief, which is another great project to, you know, just try the yarn with. Then we've got that same scarf again. Cute sweater on the left. I know a lot of people love that one. It's just enough lace to be interesting to knit and not too much to drive you crazy. And my favorite is the one on the right. I think that's a very great looking piece. Then we have another new yarn this season. I think I said earlier, Felted Tweed's our best-selling yarn. And we came out with a new yarn, also more of a worsted weight, called Felted Tweed Soft. And I'll show you this when I turn off the camera or, you know, turn off the presentation. This is gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. It's super soft and it has absolutely no weight whatsoever. So that's the color palette and matches our best-selling shades of Felted Tweed, because, you know, if they're the best-selling colors, why would you not do those? Makes sense, right? So here's some of the designs. The one on the left, flannel, which of course has got the big badge top down in the round, is one of our most popular designs from this collection. Really super simple, but really lovely. Really, really nice. Actually, you know Laura Zander?
Yes.
She just knit that sweater on the left in just one color, in the dark sort of blacky gray color. It looks so gorgeous. She's so happy.
Love it.
Cute little vest there. And all your faces are over poplin, so I'm not sure what you're seeing. There's the same vest done in a different colorway, but then over a plain sweater to sort of make it like a twin set. Then we've got a yoke sweater. And then the piece on the right reminds me of those blankets, woven blankets, which I'm not sure what their heritage is, but I thought the patterning on that was really beautiful.
Kind of like a Navajo, you think?
Something like that, maybe. I'm not exactly sure what the heritage is. Then we have like a textured scarf. And then if you look at the piece in the center here, it's the same stitch used for the twin set, but the underneath part is in Felted Tweed. And then the cardigan's heavier in Felted Tweed Soft, which is kind of nice together. You can see how the colors work perfectly together. We've got a vest over a very simple sweater. We've got that simple sort of round neck sweater, but we've also got a V-neck sweater so that you can make the length that you want and change out the neck to the one you want. Some people are very opinionated about V-necks versus round necks. You're either a V-neck person or you're not.
Or you're a turtleneck person.
Yes, exactly. Yep. The piece in the middle is lovely because it's that circular yoke thing, which is, you know, again, that's one of those sweaters that you could make and wear every day. You know, very sort of simple but comfortable. And then we've got this lovely scarf over here designed by Chloe Thurlow based on twill weaving, which is really quite lovely. And then I wanted to show you, we were talking about Kate
Oh,
earlier.
yeah.
So Kate designed 7 new colors in felted tweed and 7 new colors in kid silk haze. And he does this every now and again. Rowan asks him to like look at the palette, see what's missing, and fill in. And so aside from our Alpaca Sparkle, which sold unbelievably well, this collection was one of our absolute bestsellers of all time. Absolutely beautiful. So they're the new colors in Kid Silk Haze, and they all have a matching counterpoint color in felted tweed. So here, like the green, see the pale green, it goes with that one. The yellow goes with the gold, and they all sort of work together. And then these are the colors in felted tweed. So Kate then designed a collection using these colors. And it's the first time I've ever seen them use him as a model in photo shoots. And he's quite amazing and still very handsome and very, like at 88, he still walks the 4 floors of stairs at their house, like
Crazy.
several times a day. He's amazing. Um, so that's, yeah, so let's look at the pieces here. Cute striped sweater on the left, and he's designed everything to sort of work together. I'm really in love with the piece in the middle. I wouldn't wear those colors, but that shape and in Kid Silk Haze is absolutely glorious. It's so lightweight and beautiful. Um, this is stunning. This wrap uses um, one ball of every yarn that's
I
used
love
in
that. That's
scarf.
like a my piece. I love that.
Yep, it is so gorgeous. I have it here. It's the one sample I was able to get. But I'll show you that in a few
I'm gonna
minutes.
hand that over, and that'd be great when I see you.
Yeah, I'm sure. But the thing is, it sounds like a lot of yarn you've got to buy, but there's actually enough yarn there to make 2 scarves, which is really kind of makes it better. The same checkerboard pattern then as a little cardigan in felted tweed. This is really interesting. It's kind of like this woven colors, like big bands in the scarf. And then in the center, that's Kate's, tumbling blocks. That's one of his favorite patterns, and he does that in quilts as well as in knits. And then the Bargello pattern I thought was really lovely. So that one's knit from sleeve to sleeve, side to side, but really striking. And then this is a really cute scarf that just uses the colors in felted in Kid Silk Haze. So that's 7 balls will make you the scarf. But I mean, it's lovely. And a scarf in Kid Silk Haze is a gorgeous thing. Let me just say that. And that's it. And so here's my wrap.
And like unbeknownst, like I had no idea you had that one in person. Literally, that's my jam. I love
Yeah,
that one. I love
yeah,
that.
it's really beautiful. Now, if people are interested in other versions of it, um,
Well, I will say, I
MDK,
was going to say, I'm going to interrupt you first, only because I know I have a couple of questions. So the first thing is
yeah,
somebody was asking, like, so with regards to the patterns, like how much size inclusivity is there?
it's an excellent question. We go up to a size 52-inch bust. And as well as adding, when we did this a couple of years ago, as well as adding extra sizes to go larger, we also, very funny, Matthew, we also did it in a size smaller so that, younger people, like kids who are first becoming adults tend to be often small, um, or there are just small people. So we've gone smaller as well as sizes up to 52. So that's
So
how
when
size we're
you
collecting.
showcase these patterns or these
Mhm.
collections,
Yeah.
and so where like I don't even want to sound ignorant, like do people go to Ravelry for it? Do they have to buy the book? Like, so how do people access? So the collection that you just showed, which undoubtedly is more of like a newer up and coming, is it? I mean, are these even released as of yet?
Oh, yeah, yeah. They're out in stores now.
Okay. So do people go to their local yarn store to get them? Where can they
Yeah.
access the patterns that they've seen?
Yeah, they can get them from local yarn stores. Okay, there's two things. Firstly, the magazine that I showed you, those patterns are only available in the magazine. That's it, period. So you've got to buy the magazine for them. But anything else, so like I showed you this book
Hmm.
that has the full collection of the alpaca sparkle patterns in it. So you can buy this at a store. And if you have a store that carries Rowan and they don't have it, they can order it for you.
Okay.
You can buy it at knitrowan.com. I tend to push stores more than sending people to the website because that's my job, you know.
So are they purchasing the collection of patterns? Are they purchasing the book slash magazine? Meaning you can't buy the individual pattern.
Okay, you can like if you go onto Ravelry, you can buy any one of the patterns in this book.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're in the Ravelry store program for everything except the magazine. The
Okay.
magazine, you have to buy the magazine. And we have like thousands of subscribers all over the world and people collect it. So we kind of want to prepare,
Is it still in print or is it in digital as well?
print only.
Interesting.
Some of these pattern collections are digital only, or some are digital or print, but generally the magazine is print only.
I mean, and the photography is beautiful. So, like you said earlier when you were giving the presentation, that it really is like a coffee book,
Yeah.
a coffee table book. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it's certainly something that if you're a knitter, avid knitter, you'd want to have around anyway. And actually, I feel like I have some really old subscriptions. I don't even know how I access. I probably got them from Rosemary for all I know. But they really are beautiful in that sense.
Yeah, they're definitely collectibles. And
Yeah.
some of the older ones that have sold out, you'll see them come up, for massive amounts of money. Like issue number 10 had Kate Moss in it. And there have been times when you can find that on eBay for hundreds of dollars.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just want to say to everybody while Trish was doing her presentation, I know she's going to be like, oh my gosh, come on. But like, I did not plan any of this. Like, if you've never been to Vogue Knitting Live, like, you just pretty much got like a small snippet of one of Trisha's lectures, which I am honestly so honored to have part of TDOC. I'm just like mic drop, like I'm done. It's like 8:30. I can check out. Like this is it. We've like wrapped up the most amazing TDOC. But I mean, with that said, I feel like that also leads into it because part of what you're also alluding to is you always do tend to do lectures about like what's trending, like what's up and coming, and like how do you stay on top of that? Like, and it's not always necessarily been because of your job, but I feel like that's always been your like Vogue Knitting Live lecture title of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
trends. And so for somebody like how do you do that, and what are you speaking about this year?
Um, the reason, I mean, being part of Vogue Knitting, because of the Vogue name, we had to have a certain amount of fashion. And earlier on in the magazine, there were a lot of designers, like Seventh Avenue designers, or fashion designers that were featured in the magazine. And that's because we had the relationship with Vogue Patterns, and that was easy because we were already doing patterns with Calvin Klein. So then let's do a sweater too. Yeah, does that make sense?
Hmm.
So, um, in order to make sure the magazine stayed fashion forward. And that was the only thing that made Vogue Knitting different. It's just a magazine filled with patterns, but they were fashion patterns. So I kind of got really interested early on in learning about fashion and learning about the changes that sort of happen and watching it. And after years of watching it, uh, and Vogue Knitting Live started, and my boss is like, well, you're going to have to give a lecture. And I'm like, no one wants to hear me lecture. And I thought the only thing I really kind of know about after that no one else does is trends. So that's how that started. And then I just kept doing it because people would come and show up. So as long as they come along you know, and that someone pays me to do it, I'll do it. So it's just went on and on. And then the pandemic happened. And so Vogue Knitting Live was once a month virtually. So
Yeah.
I was doing a different trend presentation every month, because I was stuck at home alone in an apartment. I had to do something with my time. So I'd make trend presentations.
I
So,
mean, well, where do you find them? Or like, I mean, like obviously it's part of your job, but it also has to be something that you enjoy. So like where are you seeking this out? Or are you forecasting? Are you just surmising? Are you watching, the fashion shows, that are always fashion forward? Like where are you getting that information from?
I tend to look at the bigger picture as well as just like the actual fashion thing.
Mhm,
So I look at things like Pinterest Predicts, which does a fashion or does a trend thing every year. And so, for instance, this year brooches are a thing,
mhm.
and I look at whatever the fashion aspects that they're talking about are, and then I see that that's also mirrored in fashion too. And then I look at Pantone for their colors. Ex- Right. What are you going to laugh about this year's color, non-color?
Sorry, I didn't
No,
mean to like laugh in the middle of the
no.
presentation, but I mean, if you have not seen already, with regards to that, and then all of the, kickback with regards to it's interesting, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating. So then I look at there's certain bloggers I follow who do really great fashion stuff. So I see what they're talking about. And then the collection or the collections happen twice a year. So when they happen, I follow those and see what Vogue's saying and see what all the other magazines are saying online.
Mhm.
And then if anyone wants to ever do this, it's really kind of fun. You can get the Vogue Runway app on your phone, or your iPad's actually better for your eyes. And then I just go through every show for the season from all over the world. And some of them are not shows, some of them are just collections. And then I look for the nets and then I pull those out. And once you get all those knits out, then you see certain things, certain patterns emerging. For instance, I haven't done spring yet, and that's what I'll do for Vogue Knitting Live. But fall this year, there's a lot of cabling, and there's a lot of Scandinavian influence
Mhm.
actually that you could see within a lot of the nets. So you sort of see things, but we also know Scandis happening in our world too. Like most of the books published this year in the knitting realm, if you want to go and have a look on Amazon, are all basically Scandinavian in one form or another.
So your lecture at Vogue Knitting Live this year, which is of course this year, it's a little bit later. So we're
Yeah,
end of January, like
end of
filtering
January.
over into February. So are you still doing like a trends forecast? Like what else are you talking about, or is that it?
No, that's it. I just do
Okay.
friends.
And so because it's that time of year, so you're already going to be talking about what you see coming for spring.
Yeah.
So have you done that yet? Can you give
No,
us no.
I haven't started it. I was going to do it over the break and then I just needed a break. So no, I haven't
No,
started.
that's it. Well, hey, I mean, you know what? It's funny because a lot of this conversation throughout TDOC is like we're all just like we bring it to the wire about what we need to do. And at the same time, too, like we're in the dead of winter, but it's always interesting to me how forward the fashions are.
Yeah.
You of course want to think like, well, we're in the dead of winter. Why are we thinking about that? But yet, as a designer, you already have to be doing your spring knits while we're in the
Oh
dead of
yeah.
winter. So.
And seriously, in March the fall will be presented for next year. So
Mhm.
anyone who's working in fashion is pretty much done with next fall.
So crazy. I could never be that far planned in advance. Never, ever.
And that's okay, you
I
know?
mean, you know what? Absolutely. It is okay. And I'm so okay with that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I love that that's, what you like to forecast or like what you like to talk about. Now, for you and what you do with Rowan, you're not involved in that kind of pre-planning for them, correct?
No, I have nothing to do with that at all. And I
Okay.
just keep doing the trend stuff because I'm interested in it. And
Yeah.
I've done it for so long. And it's
Excellent.
just my little thing. No one else has sort of taken it on. So I'm like, okay.
Hey, well, you might as well. I mean, and that's great because that's what I know you as well too. So, I mean, of course, if nothing else, it'll be great to see you in New York for that. I will say again, like, I mean, above and beyond, I thank you for, stepping out and showing all of these things. It's funny. I love, and people can drop in the chat if you will, or if you remember the different collections. I love looking at the collections that you showed and most of Rowan, would you say that they are more traditionally styled, more traditional color with maybe a pop of color? So it almost seems undoubtedly that Kaif, when you said that they approached him about what colors are missing, well, it's all the colors because he's all about color, right? Versus I feel like everything else about Rowan is kind of the reverse, neutrals with maybe like a little pop of color.
Yeah,
So
and much more muted colors. And I think that's very indicative of the air in Yorkshire. Everything's it's always misty. You know, if the sun's not out, it's almost like this sort of gray mist on everything, and it makes color less poppy and more sort of toned down, I guess is the right word. And I think that's the people who work at Rowan, that's what they see around them all the time. They don't see bright Californian colors.
yeah.
Like in Australia, everyone wears bright colors because the sun's so bright. Um, and that's just not what they see in their world. So they're much more influenced by their surroundings.
Now, do they do that every year, meaning in terms of like bringing in some sort of influence, or was this the first time that they brought Cape in to do that?
No, it's not the first time, but he hasn't done it in a few years. So they thought, well, it's time to do it and have some fun.
Yeah, because it's like definitely a definite shift in like not necessarily, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it's also potentially going to bring in a different demographic or a
Yeah.
different taste. And that's often, I think what I say to a lot of people, we always have these discussions about like what my colors are. Mine are very muted, much more the overall look of Rowan is me with just like a little bit of pop of color. But yet, then when I work with indie dyers and other people's aesthetics, I love to bring that in too, even though that wouldn't necessarily be my choice. And I'm always a proponent for a neutral with a pop of color.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of been a theme throughout, this TDOC, although it's always a theme whenever I'm chatting about it because I'm not an overly bright person, but that doesn't mean I don't always like, a little bit of splash in the midst of
Yeah.
like muted tones in that sense. So
Exactly. But don't forget, you live in the Northeast, which is as close to England as you're going to get. I mean, there's a
well,
reason it's called New England.
I don't know. I mean, regardless of that, I mean, I think it's also just my style,
Yeah.
right? And that's the beauty of it. And that's the beauty of like being a maker is you have the opportunity to make whatever it is you want to make.
Yeah.
And I do tend to surround myself, of course, with natural colors because of the animals. But at the same time, I do have a respect for people that are bright and are loud and, like to wear that to offset maybe whatever they've got, going on underneath in terms of like their accessories and
I
things.
know. Even this, when I put on my black coat and then wrap this around,
Yeah.
it's like it's a game changer?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like that to me, if you're going to use that as an accessory, is like a perfect pop of color. So
Yeah.
I love that. But I
Yeah.
still look at those colors and I still see them as like muted jewel tones. Like they're not overly loud to me. Like I
The
don't know,
yellow is.
that's what they read to me. It's
Yeah.
still like a subtlety that
Yeah.
I can wear versus, other things. And maybe it's just how it balances out.
Part of it is with this piece is because, I showed you you've got the bright colors come in kid silk haze because the mohair takes the dye so beautifully, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the felted tweed, because it's got the little nubs of other colors in there, it's toned down. But each color has a counter color. So if you look in here, there's a bright orange here.
Yeah.
But when you put it next to its counter color,
Right.
it tones it down?
No, that's interesting. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that that pattern was, crafted, in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of it too, is just in terms of like the colors that are put against one another, to kind of like help balance it out.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was texting some of my indie dyers today, totally unplanned about this conversation, but I have some yarns at the mill that I need to over dye. So there was like a light gray and then like a light tan. And I saw Susan's comment earlier with regards to brown. We've had like a very fun conversation throughout TDOC. I always have a fun conversation about brown. But this was more of like a tan. But even still, like when you've got something other than white, and you need to put color over it, like how is that going to transform?
Yeah.
What exactly am I going to get? And then one of my friends texted me back about color wheel, and I'm just like, shit, I'm going to chat GBT. And I did. I'm not really sure I got like exactly, for $20 a month, I'm not really sure I got exactly the color, that I wanted to see, but I thought I'm going to make this go work. And I was like, here are the yarns. Here's the colors I want to put over it. I was able to like pull from the website. I was like, this color, this is the number. They pulled it from the website and then tried to like transcribe like what that would look like to use that dye color over that shade of yarn. So it was kind of an interesting, I don't know.
Experiment, really.
Yeah, today. I mean, again, I'm not really sure it like truly. So it'll be interesting to see when I get the yarn back if it really looks like what ChatGPT created for me. But it's still that whole balance of that color wheel. And I think that actually goes to what you were saying then about that particular pattern in that wrap of like balancing out so you don't have like too much bright next to one another and it all
Yeah.
just kind of melds in the end and then it becomes something that's totally wearable for the average person. I mean, I think that's important too. I feel like when I looked at the collection that you put forth from Rowan, which is what I appreciate, is something that's timeless. I don't keep up with trends. I don't have time to keep up with trends. But when I look at everything there, that is something that I feel like I could wear now, but I could wear 10 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
we put so much time and effort into our knits. I think you've got to consider that, you know. I
yeah,
mean, fashion's fashion, but you know,
no, I mean, fashion is fashion, but at the same time, classic is classic. And
yeah,
I think like those two can go hand in hand, but then I think at the same time, those are two different discussions. So my patterns have never been fashion forward in the sense that my patterns have always been something you can always wear. And maybe colors change slightly, but probably not that much dramatically. So it's just funny. Again, I think about like, for instance, my Little Rivers poncho is still a pattern that like I'd have to go back. It's got to be probably at least 10 years since Rosemary's daughter Annabelle did that. And it's still a workhorse and it's still something I see everybody wear for various reasons, right?
yeah.
So that's me. I don't want to make something that's going to like not be wearable next year. I don't want a color that's not going to be wearable next year. So I feel like that's what resonates when you showed that presentation with Rowan. That's what I
If you want to try something really colorful, then I think make a hat,
Mhm.
because see, like even putting this around my neck, you know, it looks like a color statement, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a whole sweater, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
something that
and
you
this
can
is a good point that who's made this? Stephanie's made in the chat. Yeah, people are trying to get away from fast fashion. And the thing about knitting is it's the ultimate slow fashion.
yes.
Really is.
Well,
It's
the
all
funny thing
handmade.
was, I feel like you taught me that. And I feel like when I finally got with this group, I was like, I didn't even know I had a name. This is what I've been doing, folks. I will never ever forget. And, you know, Art, we miss him so much, but always, I will never forget my first Vogue Knitting Live when I showed up there on the scene. I will never forget Stacey Chalky Charles was like across from me, like taking pictures of my booth. I'm like, what? Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I remember Art was like completely fascinated, bringing people in. And the part that I didn't even know, he was fascinated that my natural colors were natural colors. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even
Yeah.
understand that because I didn't even understand that like white was like bleached white and black was dyed black. I'm like, what do you mean? It's the colors of the animals.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
it's been such an interesting growth of where I got a greater appreciation for what I did, which was slow fashion, which is what I've always done and didn't even know how to name. But yet, on the other side, the industry that you, Art, like all of those people were part of. I remember when Stacey Tucky Charles ended up doing a collection right after that. That was all like New York fibers, New York milled, New York
Mm,
designs,
yeah, yeah,
So I feel like it was the world kind of went this way, and everybody met in the middle to be able to remind people about where all of our fibers come from.
yeah. No, it's so true. And it matters in the fashion world too. A lot of designers are working with sustainable fibers. And I was actually remembering when you were talking earlier about when your yarns were on the runway. Do you remember we went to a runway show?
Oh my God. And I still love that was like amazing. I mean, first of all, it was like an epic night. So great time,
Yeah.
but absolutely. Yeah. And I've had the fortunate to work with different fashion students. And I mean, it was like off runway, but still runway enough for me. And I remember I invited you. I was like, come on, do you want to come with me? You're like, all right, whatever. And I feel like to some degree, maybe it was more than you would have expected. But it was so cool, and I still have those pictures, and there's still one design that's listed on our pattern availability. But yeah, one of the greatest gifts is when students are coming through FIT, Parsons, and then they're looking for sustainability projects. I'm always thankful when they come across my stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely been blessed to be part of that stuff too. So for sure,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
fun times.
Yes, of course. Of course.
So, I mean, I'm not really sure. Like, again, now I look up and I'm like, how the hell is it 8:50, right? Um, like before, I mean, we have other stuff to go into, but I feel like I'm going to make them sweat it out. But I mean, in terms of like, if you want to wrap it up, like, what do you want? I mean, we'll have like more closing words, but just in terms of who you are and what you're doing in the industry and what your job is with Rowan, like what can you pass off to people before we kind of like wrap things up for the evening? I know that's like big and open ended.
It's really big. I'm not sure where to go with that.
What do you love? All right, here's the thing. I'll narrow it. What do you love about what you do? Because I will say, when we started this, you were knitting. And I'm like, Trish, I don't think I've ever seen you knitting, which is the same. That's not a dig because it's the same thing that a lot of my people, I'll call out Elizabeth, who I know is on. Like, a lot of people love to put digs at me in which they don't see me knitting most of the time because it's my job. I'm raising animals, I'm shearing animals, I'm designing yarns, I'm washing curls now. I mean, it's just crazy. She's laughing. I mean, it's just crazy. Like the amount of stuff with these curls that we do, I have to show you. I don't think we were even doing it as much as when I saw you last. But so much, from grassroots up that I don't get to spin my own yarn anymore. Like when Rosemary first met me and I was going to the farmers markets with my basket,
Exactly.
I'm not knitting like the pictures I have in the early days of, having time to, experiment with things. So it is the nature of when this becomes your job that it doesn't become as much leisure. So it was cool
Exactly.
to see you knitting at the front end of this
Well,
because
well, that's just because I've had 2 weeks off. And once you're not dealing with yarn every day, then there's space for yarn in your life, you know?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
at the end of the day, like I've had yarn up to here all day, nothing but yarn, So there are times when you're like, oh, there are some days I'm just like, I don't want to see another ball of yarn today, you know? But today wasn't so bad. Well, today's, like I said, first day back, and I started knitting this hat.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to Australia soon, so I wanted to make gifts for my family. So I might get one hat done, that's it. But it's a great idea.
It's the thought that counts.
Exactly.
Now, so do you get, and actually, I don't even know, do you get back to Australia every year or no?
No,
I didn't think
too
so.
far. No, I generally go every other year, but I missed last year because work was too grueling. But
Mhm.
I do have to go now at
And
some
when are you
point.
leaving?
I don't know. I haven't bought a ticket yet.
Oh, all
Some point
right.
in the next 3 months or 4 months I'll go.
All right. So you still have time to make a couple hats.
Yeah, I do.
And I know we've talked about this. I mean, of course, my only like, trip to Australia was back in my high school days. And I know I told Trish about this a long time ago. Like back when people had pen pals and you actually like wrote
Yeah.
to pen pals. I had a pen pal, actually a number of pen pals that started in like second grade. And then, of course, it like dwindled down. And by the time I got to high school, I still had two, and then it wheedled down to one, and I had one pen pal. I don't even know how it started, and she was from Australia, and of course I was from US, and I had a chance to go and stay with her and visit with her, and then she came to US, and it was kind of amazing. And then we kept in touch until she went to, what do you guys call it? It's not college. I don't, I feel like,
University, probably.
yeah, I guess. Yeah. It was just like sounded like something different.
But
So,
she would have said uni.
yeah. And then she had like a flat, right? Is that an
Yeah.
apartment?
Yep.
And we kind of fell off at some point after that, but still the most amazing experience of my life that you have to fly for a day to get to somewhere else. Not to mention, of course, once I get there, that was my first lesson in you always pack your essentials in your carry-on bag because when you get to Australia 24 hours later and you've lost your luggage, I mean, eventually it was found, but it's really hard when you meet people for the first time and you're like, hi, I've literally never met you, and like now I have nothing. So that was
Yeah.
a good lesson in traveling for sure. But that was when I was in high school. But
Yeah.
super cool, and I still love. I mean, the usual. I got to hug a koala. I got to go to the Surfer's Paradise. I got to do all the like touristy kind of things. But
And if I remember correctly, Matthew, didn't you go to Australia as a student too?
isn't that like that's a? I mean, it's one of those things you can't even imagine. Um,
Yep. Yeah.
yeah. And then somebody was asking, and actually I was pulling back,
2008.
can you
Yep.
share what the FIT students did? Gosh, I can't remember the pattern's name at the moment, but I know it's on my website. It was a sort of mock turtleneck, um, like vest, so to speak. It was sleeveless. There were eyelets across the bust, so not for everybody, but you could certainly omit that. I cannot remember the name of it at the moment, but essentially, and actually, I can only remember one of the guys. It was James Chapman, and I can't remember the other gentleman. They're partners. They're actually still together. They were in Florida. They had relocated. I've kept in touch with them. I want to say maybe the other one is James McGuire. I'm literally pulling this out of my head, but they continued on in designing. So essentially, the project was that they got a yarn and they were doing their own dyeing. So it was like an organic dye, like a natural dye. So that was part of it to dye the yarn and then to create a pattern. And also, what I learned from that was the patterns that they're creating to work on a knitting machine doesn't translate to hand knitting. So we translated it so that it would work in hand knitting. So it was just a cute little piece. But, again, they came and they did a whole thing. They featured the animals. It was just super cool. And I've had a couple of students that have come after that to do some interviews. I've gone to the schools to do talks in the wintertime. I've been in touch with teachers. So, I mean, I just try to make myself available any way I can because I think that's just an amazing part of the whole industry and the students that are up and coming. And there's, of course, lots of different things on Instagram and social media now that you can follow. This is really like a random, but it's been in my head the entire time. I know you're on social media, maybe not as much as I am, I'm not sure. Have you seen the young designer, Max? It's like Max Couture. He's like a prodigy. It has
Oh,
nothing to do with knitting, but it has to do with like sewing and pattern making.
yes, I have. Yeah.
And if nobody, I don't even know exactly his handle, but I don't know what was making me think of it the entire time. But just in terms of like following trends and up and coming, I don't know how I fell upon his page like years ago, and it's just been
Yeah.
so incredible to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely going to be, one of the up and coming designers. He's already a designer, as he gets older. So I was curious if you follow him.
Yeah, totally. But to me, that's like Mozart. Some people are just born with that innate ability.
Yeah.
It's like they lived another life and done it, and then they've just sort of come back again, and it's right there.
And I forget exactly, but if you follow his stuff and if you go to his early stories, his mom was a dressmaker, had like a dress form, but he like apparently as an early child like talked about and I can't remember the exact designer, but yeah, in the sense of like you would think that that designer was like reborn in this child, which
Yeah.
is just absolutely amazing. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Great.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
So before it gets too late, let's do this because I'm super excited. I mean, I've been super excited about this entire presentation, of course, of which again, I can say I have absolutely nothing to do with. I just wanted my friend on. That is literally all this was. I've tried to get her on before. This was not about some fancy presentation. This was not about some donation. This was not about some fancy giveaway that we're going to do right now. This is just about me wanting to get somebody on who I call a friend. And I just wanted to share my evening, with my friend, but she has stepped up to the nth degree to put together a presentation and a whole thing that I'm not really sure I'm going to have to figure out how to, ante up it next year. So she's definitely set the bar. So, Trish, this is what we
Uh,
say. Right now it says 43, but of course that's so we've got 40 people that have been on to start. So you have to pick a number from 1 to 40, and then that person is going to win the amazing donation that we talked about at the beginning. So you pick your number, and then I'm just going to randomly count through my participant list as it's seen on my screen. Nobody else can see it, but that's what I go by.
okay, 22.
All right. Oh, you're going to make me go through the middle of the
Oh,
pile. No, that's
sorry.
okay. No problem. No problem. So, really, you guys are going to have to bear with me because this is legit. This is not like some, fancy mechanism. So, I know we've got the first three. So, bear with me, everybody. So, we're going to be like 1, 2, 3. This is how it is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to scroll up. She's making me work. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're getting closer. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. I actually I'm not sure who this is. So it says Laura J's phone. So that is number 22. That's actually not a name I normally see on our participant list. So in the chat, if you are Laura J's phone, I need you to drop your info in the chat so that we, of course, can say congratulations as everybody also chimes in. But Laura J, we need to have your information, who you are. We also need to have your email address so that we can be sure to follow up. Now, if you only had us as background music and you're busy doing something else, hopefully you can jump in time. Before we end, I'm going to say Stephanie Cross, if we don't hear from her in the chat, because I don't want to like stare at it, you be sure to let me know. We can always pick somebody else if that's what happens. With that, so Trisha, I know I'm going to be seeing you soon enough, of course, because we're going to make sure we can plan some time to get together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will also say that I'm anxious to find out who's going to be seeing us at Vogue Knitting Live New York. Are you coming for the entire time, or are you just going to scoot in, scoot out?
I'm hoping to stay for the first couple of days, but my lecture's on Thursday, so I'm kind of
Oh,
early in the,
oh,
you
so
know,
you're even like before like everything starts because like our marketplace doesn't start till Friday night.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have your lecture on Thursday, and then are
Yeah.
you staying for any extended period of time or?
I'm thinking about staying at least through Saturday morning.
Okay, cool.
I don't like to be in that hotel too long because I get sick every year.
I was just gonna, I mean, it's definitely a very busy place, if
Hmm.
you will.
Yeah.
It's definitely a little congested at times, if you will. But at the same time, it's a great meeting place. It's a great opportunity for people to be able to like hear about all the different things that are happening, all the different lectures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm glad for that for sure. Now, I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat because I don't want to let you go until I know. I feel like I've got to be honest. I feel like, unfortunately, whoever, and you guys have to bear with me because I know it's being like recorded at this point in time. And Stephanie, you can certainly like help me as well. But I'm just scrolling through my participant and the number that I picked, the person is still there. I just don't know who it is. And I got to be honest, guys, I'm not going to shut this down until I know who that person is. And then otherwise, we can pick somebody else because that's the way it goes. So, Stephanie, I'm going to pull you on. Can I pull you on as a spotlight? Thank you. Bear with
Yep.
me, guys. All right, cool. So, I want to make sure I haven't missed anything. Have you seen anything?
No.
All right. So, you know what, guys? I feel really bad. And this is not usually anything that happens, but we're gonna do this again because this needs to be awarded. This is too big for, unfortunately, somebody to be off in the background and not being able to capture it. So now we're down to, we've got 41, so that means we're at 39. So Trisha, I'm gonna ask you to pick another number because I want to make sure I know who's gonna get this. So
Okay, 13.
okay. All right. Hang it with me, everybody. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Gina, I know you're here. So, and I know who that is. So I'm sorry for Laura J, whoever that was. That is not a name I know. Otherwise, I would have been more than happy to say I'll reach out to you. But I did not know who that was, and you didn't respond. So now the winner is Gina, who I know actually hasn't won it all this week. And I do know Gina. So I can at least say for sure that we are good. So Gina, Stephanie, if you can make a note of that, I really appreciate it. And then we'll go from there. So congrats, Gina.
Yeah,
Gina
congratulations.
will be, and actually Gina will be at Vote Need Live New York. She lives in the city. So she comes in to visit us every time. And then hopefully she'll be able to see you and say thank you to you as well, too.
It'd be lovely to meet her. I want
Absolutely.
to know, Gina, what color are you choosing?
Well, I've got Gina on text, so I can make sure I get that. I mean, most of my what I call lifers, they know that they can reach out to me at any point in time.
Yeah.
But Gina is one of my people that's on text all the time, so I will find out. I'll get all that info for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to know now because I'm like super excited to see what she's picked.
I don't know. You know what I was going to say? So she actually bought a lot of my olive colored yarn. It was like a
Oh,
deep green. And I know she said, because this is how I know my people, I know she said she just bought a gold winter coat. So
oh,
I don't know. I mean, she might be looking for like deeper colors to kind of like offset something like
yeah.
that.
Now, let me just say, Gina, if you've got a gold coat and you want the gold colored yarn,
There we
I've got the light color here, but the darker color, um, this one has like a, I don't know what, silver. They all have silver paillettes except the gold has a gold paillette.
That's what I was going to ask is if they were all silver or the gold has
Yeah,
the gold. So
gold
that
has
might be
gold. This
beautiful.
one I can't quite. I think this is more like a sheer one.
Now, here's
Um,
another question I didn't think to ask you. So, at Vote Nitty Live, does Rowan have a booth?
we usually work with a retailer,
Okay.
so one of
Oh,
our flagship stores.
right. So,
And
are you going to be featured in any
no,
particular booth that you can mention? No.
no, because my flagship store is not going to be there this year because she's just become a grandmother twice in the last year. So she is not doing it. So we're going to come back and do it next year.
Okay. Cool. Well,
Yep.
good. And then, so there's no physical presence necessarily.
No,
All right.
no, but we're talking about some fun stuff for next year. You know, we've got some big numbers next year, as in celebration years and things.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah,
good. Well,
yes.
guys, I want to remind you before we shut down for tonight, don't forget tomorrow night is our after party. So, Trisha has been our last presentation in terms of our last guest, but tomorrow night is the after party. I will have 11 trivia questions based on the various guests that we've had throughout TVOC. So there are plenty of prizes to win. But yes, you have to be there because you have to answer the questions to be able to win those prizes. And then, of course, the culmination of the evening, whenever that is, we will be drawing a ticket for the keepsake basket that we talked about at the top of the program. And that you do not have to be there to win it because we have your information, we have your email address. So rest assured, if you're not able to join us tomorrow night, as long as you've made a purchase with us throughout the 11 days expiring tonight at midnight, then you definitely are in the running for the keepsake basket. For those of you watching the recording, unfortunately, if you're watching this recording, it's going to be too late because this will be posted in the morning. But again, for everybody that's with us live, you have until midnight. If you want to get any last minute purchases in, whether you want to use our 50% off skincare code, whether you want to use our 20% off code for our Gotland socks and gloves, whether you want to jump in and grab any of the yarns that are remaining from our drops or any of our products that we've now added to our site. Trisha, I can't thank you enough. This was way more than I could have expected, and
Oh,
I
so
really,
lovely. Thank you for
really,
inviting me.
really appreciate it. Personally, I'm going to text you as soon as we're done. I need those dates. I look forward to getting together with you in person. I'm sorry I
Yeah.
couldn't be with you tonight, but I think that this has just worked out amazingly. I appreciate you for everything that you've done for me over the years and to help me establish, who I am and what I've done. And I appreciate our friendship and thank you for
Yeah.
letting it
Also,
to continue on past work. I mean, you're always somebody I will continue to admire, and I'm so lucky to call you a friend.
same, same.
All
Thank
right,
you. Thank you.
everyone. Guys, thank
Enjoy.
you. I really appreciate it. I am going to save the chat because I'm sure that's why Stephanie is raising her hand because I forget that like every single time. So I'm going to make sure I do that right now just in case. That way we've got everything we need. All right. And then with that, now I'm officially saying good evening. Thank you so much, guys, for being with us for 11 days of TDOC. See you for the after party. Take care, everyone.